Hi Noon, it's Breanne, and I'm going to be doing a few sleep training videos on what we've done with Betsy, who is now 15 weeks old. And one of the things I did was I went to the library and I rented like every sleep book that there was, like really. And I read them. And I know that you don't always have a lot of time to read when you have a newborn, so I read them for you. I'm going to review them. And this is a review on the Happiest Baby on the Block by Dr. Harvey Karp. And he thinks the babies have a calming reflex. And if you do these things, then it will calm them down and they'll be able to sleep longer. And so he believes in these 5 S's. And you may have heard this, and I saw him like a long time ago on like Oprah. It was like 100 years ago. But anyway, so they're the 5 S's, and they're swaddle, sound, suck, like on a passy, sway, and side. And those are the 5 S's. And so I read this book when Betsy was 8 weeks old, and he was talking about swaddling and how babies really like to be swaddled. And I'm like, really? Still? Okay. So I tried it, and she slept great. So she's now almost 4 months, and she's still being swaddled, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon. I'm just scared. So she's still swaddled, and another thing that I implemented was the sound. And so I went out and I got a white noise machine, and that seems to really work for her. So things I liked about the book were that it was easy and it actually worked for her. Another thing that she has a really hard trouble burping. Like you could burp for like 20 minutes and like hardly anything ever happens. And so one of the things that he suggested was that you kind of bounce them up and down for like a second. Yeah. Do you see what I'm doing? And then burp her. And that actually, he said that like the stomach bubbles like come to the top and then they'll come out. I don't know. I don't work here. So it worked. So sometimes that will work for her. She still doesn't always burp every time. It worked for his methods for sleeping. When he talked about, like, it worked for either breastfed babies or bottle-fed babies, whereas some of the books I read were really just for bottle-fed babies or really just for breastfed babies. So I liked that there was like an option for everyone. Another thing that was really helpful in this book, I have notes. Okay, so he talked about the sleep cycle, and that just, I don't know, resonated with me. I was like, oh, okay, you know, babies have these sleep cycles that they go through where they're in light sleep and then they go into their REM sleep, and then there's like a time where they'll wake up a little bit, but they're not like fully awake. And so to actually let your baby get to a full cry before you go in to the room. I don't always do that. It's out of like desperation and laziness though, where I go and like tend to her like immediately. So I think that that's probably a bad habit. But again, I'm like a go with your gut kind of person, and that's just kind of what I do. And I'm not saying it's bad to like go into your baby right away, because it totally isn't. But I can see what he's saying. Some of the things I didn't like about his book was that he totally doesn't believe in acid reflux for the majority of babies. And obviously having a baby with acid reflux and knowing the kind of hell that it is, then I'm kind of like, okay, maybe my baby fits into this like small percentage, but I think that it's more real than he's giving it credit for. So I didn't love that, but he's like entitled to his own opinion, doctor. I'm just kidding. So then the other thing that was really weird was he compares a lot. He'll compare babies to this like random tribe in Africa where babies like never cry. And he was saying like in this tribe, like babies hardly ever cry. So they've looked into it, and these babies are fed sometimes like 50 to 100 times a day. They're just like constantly suckling and nursing and things like that. And they're also held all the time, which, okay, that's just not really very realistic. In our society, in modern society, I guess, doesn't necessarily mean that that's wrong, but I just thought that was weird that that's his like kind of go-to. It's kind of like, that's not helpful at all. But with that, he was saying that there's no real way to spoil your baby. You can't spoil your baby by holding him or her too much. And that even if you held your baby for 12 hours a day, it's still half what they were used to in being in the womb. And so all of these 5 S's basically are recreating the womb environment to make your baby feel comfortable. And he talks about the 4th trimester, that those first 3 months after your baby's born, they really technically weren't ready to be born, but their heads are so big that they have to come out, and then you want to recreate this womb environment so that they are comfortable. Okay, so do with that what you want to do. The other thing that was helpful to understand was that he mentioned that good sleep at night begins in the morning. So to stick with a wake-up time and wake your baby up, even if they're not awake, between the hours that you want them to wake up. And so for us, that time is between 7 and 8 in the morning, because we put her down between 7 and 8 at night. She's typically always in bed by 7:30, and we typically get her up around 7:45. That is hard to do when your baby is asleep in the morning and you're like, I don't want to get up. That's hard. So I don't always do that, but we get up anyways for school and all of that. So we pretty much do stick to that schedule. The other thing I did not like about this book was that he suggested that you feed your baby during the day every 1.5 hours. And this is for a smaller baby, obviously. This is for those first 3 months. I'm not sure, I think 3 to 4 months is what he suggested. Well, I tried that, and no matter what I did, she still ate the same amount of food in that time period. I couldn't get her to eat more. And she still woke up in the night. So that didn't really work for us yet. Let's see, what else did he say that I liked? I'm just looking over my notes really fast to make sure I don't miss anything. Oh, he's also an advocate for, sorry, my throat is killing me. The dream feed, which is basically where you go in and get your baby, keep all the lights off, very dark, and you feed your baby this one last feeding of the day, somewhere between 10 and 11. Betsy wakes up between them anyway, which I don't know if that's habit, but she seems hungry. So that's her feeding, where she'll actually eat 4 ounces versus the other times where she's only eating 3. When I first did the dream feed when she was younger, it was a disaster. It did not work. She would eat that, but then she would wake up almost more frequently in the night. I don't know if that was just bad timing or what we were doing wrong with that, but for me, the dream feed doesn't work for us. It doesn't make her sleep longer or anything, but she does eat at that time. So does that make any sense at all? So anyways, that is just kind of the basic, really fast, this is what this book is about. I liked it, and now I'm also, I guess the other side to that is that I now have a baby who requires swaddling and sound to sleep, which I am a total fan sleeper, so I totally understand that, and I'm not worried about having to wean her off of the sound at all. The swaddling, I'm a little bit I don't know how we're gonna break her of that, and she's also still sleeping in an upright position in this little cradle thing. So at some point we need to move her to a crib and also unswaddle at some point. I don't know when that's gonna be, but that might be a possible drawback at some point down the road. So anyways, I hope that helps. If you want more information, go get that book. I need to get it back to my library because they're sending me notices, and they're please bring us our book back. So anyways, have a good day.